Sometimes God in the universe will test you with a series of events or situations to see if you've honestly learned those lessons that needed to be learned in order for you to close out a cycle and move on and move forward within your life. And within receiving those tests, they could either come separately or collectively. You have to begin to be consciously aware to even recognize these situations or events for what they truly are, because sometimes we tend to not believe that God is listening to us when in all actuality he truly is. But sometimes he just wants to be able to see if you were listening or if you are willing to implement what it was that was learned within those past trials and tribulations, those past lessons, to see if you've honestly ready to implement those things from those past experiences. Are you truly ready to move on, move forward, and close out on those past patterns, past cycles, and to let it go and to release it, and knowing that you've learned the lesson and passed the test? And I say this simply because I'm walking that experience right about now as I'm attempting to close out a cycle that I had been in for who knows how long when it comes to self-love and self-worth and hell, self-mastery, in all honesty. And one of the things that I've had to learn myself was to validate myself, know that I am worthy, and know that I don't need anything outside of myself because I possess everything within myself. There's nothing externally that I need to make me whole and complete. And in knowing that these series of tests have been arriving within my reality regarding women showing interest in the attempts to try and have some type of relation with me in some form or fashion. And the way that I see it is that this is God in the universe testing me again to see if I've learned from my past mistakes. Because originally I thought it was the universe on some matchmaking type ish, until I honestly took that step back. I took that pause to honestly think to myself, to connect the dots and, attempt to try and look at the bigger picture and understand it for what it truly is. And I began to recognize the patterns throughout my reflections, and in doing so, I'm able to honestly make the conscious decision on what's truly best for me when it comes to any of these situations, if any of these situations are worth entertaining, in all honesty. Because how I am now compared to how I used to be back in the day, I would have entertained everyone. Gotta catch 'em all, Pokemon. But nowadays, with how intentional I am when it comes to relationships and dating, and, you know, investing my time and my energy into people, places, things, and, relationships especially, it's like I have to be very intentional when it comes to what it is that I allow into my life and my reality, my world, because I've been through a lot and I've put others through a lot, and I've I've learned my lessons, and I've paid my debt in regards to karma, and I'm walking my path. But in walking my path, I'm actively attempting to be a better person as each day comes and goes, actively working on myself, actively doing that shadow work, actively praying to God to continue to work on me, work with me, and work through me to make me that better person, the best version of myself that I can be for me, myself, and I first and foremost, but also for my daughter. And with me also doing this for my daughter, like I said, I have to be very intentional when it comes to, dating, because granted, as of right now, I do not have, physical custody of my child, but in the future, hypothetically speaking, if I was to have, custody of her, or even whenever I do have her in regards to visitation, the individual that I choose to invest my time and energy into, at some point in time would be introduced to my daughter. And the last thing that I would want is to, have someone around my child that is not a good influence or even a good role model. And that even goes down to, their children that they may have, because 9 times out of 10, everyone nowadays has kids and stuff like that. So, with that being said, it's like I know that I'm actively working on myself to be the best influence and best role model that I can be for anyone in regards to, their situation, them as a person, whether they're single or coming as a package deal with, children and stuff like that. I'm actively working on myself to be the best version of myself, not only for me, but for them as well. And so, I have to be very intentional when it comes to dating and choosing a partner to invite into my world, because at the end of the day, the individual that you choose to invest your time and energy into can either make you or break you, especially if you have a vision for your life and you see yourself going down a certain path, and the individual that you potentially choose can potentially change that trajectory in which you are attempting to try and travel. So it's all the more reason as to why you should be mindful when it comes to choosing individuals that you have relations with, or even, partner with and have commitments and things of that nature, especially for the long run. So, with this at the forefront of my mind, knowing that these are nothing but a series of tests to see if I'm truly ready to close out this cycle and to move forward, I can honestly say that I'm happy in choosing or making the decision, the choice that I chose to make. And it's not about honestly having no options in no way, shape, or form, because we all have options. I could care less to have options. The number one thing about it is it's about finding someone that wants you, that chooses you, that invests in you, that wants to grow with you just as much as you want to do all of those things with them. And in doing so, that will make all the more difference on that solid foundation being laid to bring about that vision that you desire for you in your life, especially in the long run, especially when it comes to raising children, especially when it comes to creating generational wealth and legacy. These are all things that come to my mind when it comes to dating. So it's not to be on some perfectionism type stuff. It's just that I know what it is that I want for me, for my life. I have a vision. I see myself being somewhere and being someone, and I have an image to protect. So, to the individuals that truly don't understand it, at those current moments in time when it's trying to be explained, hopefully, maybe this right here will bring a little bit of insight and clarify some things and bring about that necessary closure that is needed so that you, whoever you may be, can move on and be at peace in knowing that there's nothing that you have done per se wrong in no way, shape, or form. It's just that we all have free will to choose, and we all have preferences as well as a vision for how we choose or how we see our lives and where it is that we are trying to go. And sometimes some people just simply can't go simply because of the fact of the matter is that we're not on the same wavelength. In all honesty, that's just the best way to put it. Not being on the same wavelength or not being equally yoked. There's an imbalance when it comes to the give and the take, the support, the communication, the trust, the loyalty, the freedom, all of the above. So, with that being said, these were just random late night thoughts that I felt someone out there honestly and truly needed to hear to bring about some sense of peace so that they can have that closure and rest assured in knowing that it's not them in no way, shape, or form. Is it you? It's just the timing was off and the alignment is just not there. And that's all it is. But don't let that discourage you in no way, shape, or form, because at the end of the day, just because one person isn't for you, it doesn't mean that there isn't someone else out there for you. You just have to continue doing the work and finding yourself and loving yourself and rebuilding yourself so that you can attract in what it is that you truly do want for you in your life. But it will only come after the work is done, yet alone when the time is right. So trust the process. Love and light. Stay blessed.